As Iran and Israel go head-to-head with direct attacks on each other, the specter of escalation is looming larger than before. Given India's strong strategic ties with both countries and an increasing number of Indians caught in the crossfire, can New Delhi escape being embroiled in the conflict? Hello and welcome to Worldview at The Hindu with me, Suhasini Haider. Now, there is news coming in of multiple strikes reportedly by Israel on bases and even nuclear facilities in Iran, further driving tensions in the region up. While the two countries have had a shadow war between them for 45 years, since 1979, we've not seen such openly direct strikes on each other thus far. So up ahead, we're going to look at just how this new turn will change the West Asian landscape, but also 7 ways in which India is impacted already. We've been covering, of course, everything that happened in Israel since October the 7th. Terror attacks by Hamas, Israel's pounding of Gaza, killing of 35,000 Palestinians. But here's how the scene is shifting really now. On April the 1st, Israel launched strikes on Iran's embassy in Damascus. They killed 7 military diplomats belonging to the IRGC, including a senior general. Iran protested this is a violation of United Nations conventions, particularly the Vienna Convention for diplomats. And many saw this as Israel's attempt at broadening the war, as its war on Gaza went into an impasse. No progress on freeing Hamas-held hostages either. So the idea that Israel really wanted more countries to get involved in the conflict there.
No member state, I repeat, no member state will remain silent in face of such a brazen and serious military attack on its embassy, which is considered a symbol of its sovereignty, as well as the killing of its legal, official and diplomat agents.
On April the 12th, Iran seized an Israel-linked ship, the MSC Ares. 17 crew members on board were actually Indian. One of those, a female cadet, has been sent back to India, but the fate of the other 16 remains unclear. India in touch on that. On April the 13th, then, Iran launched what it called its reprisal. 300 to 350 drones and missiles, cruise missiles directly on Israel. Remember, this is the first time it has openly done so. Those missiles were slow moving, you could see them going over, and in fact were demonstrative more than deliberately trying to cause lethal harm. Most of them were repelled by Israel's Iron Dome as a result of the time lag. But also, Israel received help from the US, from Jordan, and reportedly intelligence support from some of the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia and UAE as well. Iran said it had 3 objectives. Although the US said this was a failure by Iran, Iran said its objectives were threefold: to deter Israel from further action, to showcase Iran's missile capabilities, and to demonstrate its ability to target vital Israeli military bases at will. At a cabinet meeting, here's what the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said.
I want to make clear that we will make our own decisions and the state of Israel will do all that is needed to defend itself.
Now then, on April the 19th, what we've heard is Israel has reportedly launched strikes on several targets inside Iran, including Isfahan, believed to be bases, nuclear and other strategic locations. And this despite the US President Biden expressly asking Prime Minister Netanyahu not to respond to those strikes. India has also called on both sides to show restraint. In fact, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar spoke this week to both Iranian Foreign Minister Amir Abdullahian and Israel Foreign Minister Israel Katz. Both sides, of course, said they have high expectations from India. And of course, you can read this interview with the Iranian ambassador to India, Iraj Elahi, to me there on the Hindu's website. So certainly the stakes are increasing and growing on both sides. Now, on the diplomatic front, we've seen movements across the world as well. Some major moves. UN Security Council met this week over the escalating tensions, but then did not come up with a resolution or any condemnation of the attacks. The US, UK and others have imposed new sanctions on Iran, targeting its drone capabilities in particular. And then 12 UN Security Council members voted in favor of a resolution by Algeria on making Palestine a full member state. The US, however, vetoed it, and Israel debated very strongly against that resolution. Listen in.
Granting the perpetrators and supporters of October 7th full membership status in the UN is the vilest reward for the vilest crimes.
So what's next? There are four scenarios people are looking at. First, how will Iran respond to the reported Israeli strikes? Will Iran now consolidate actions along with its proxies in the Gulf region, believed to be Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas in Gaza, and other militia in the region? Second, what is on the escalation ladder for Israel? Thus far, Israel conducted covert targeted assassinations on Iranian officials, nuclear scientists, and others. So will the Damascus attack really pave the way for more such open strikes on Iranians? There's a big worry also over nuclear confrontation. Neither country is a declared nuclear weapons power, yet the worry now is that with this conflict deepening, one or both might reveal their nuclear capabilities, and that will further drive the crisis impact. Let's take a look at India now. And India has already seen 7 different types of impact from the ongoing tensions in West Asia. First, there's the geopolitical impact. India has strong ties with both countries, and this escalation makes it difficult to maintain those ties. In statements about Iran and Israel's actions, remember April 1st and April 13th, the MEA has taken care not to criticize either side, and that's come to some disappointment in both capitals. There's then the strategic impact. India's connectivity projects with both Israel under the I2U2 and the proposed IMEC corridor, those are already in jeopardy. Now the connectivity through Chabahar port and the INSTC corridor to Central Asia will be in trouble too. Third is the oil impact. Even as elections are getting underway in India, the West Asian conflict will no doubt drive up the price of oil. It's already under strain with the Russia-Ukraine war. So the question, will India now be forced to restart oil imports from Iran, which it gave up in 2018 under threat from the United States? Then there's the economic impact, inflation impact on prices, the markets getting jittery, as well as interest rates likely to be kept unchanged. Sixth is the trade impact. Cargo trade through the Red Sea and Hormuz is already under attack from Houthi groups. Now shippers and insurers are likely to take longer routes around the region just in case Israel shuts off the rest, given the clouds of conflict. And then there's travel impact. Flights will need to take longer detours as well. This will affect air ticket prices, travel times this summer. Air India has already suspended so many of its flights to Tel Aviv. And finally, there's labor impact. While other Gulf countries account for about 8 million Indian labor and expatriate workers, Israel has about 18,000. Iran has between 10 and 15,000, including a large number of merchant navy crew and personnel that normally stop through Iranian ports. They're caught in the crossfire now. 6,000 Indian workers recruited for jobs, construction jobs in Israel, are unable to leave India. Questions about the Indian crew on board various ships going through the region, with about, remember, 2.5 lakh merchant navy personnel are Indian. Indians rank 3rd in the numbers. So it is a difficult situation, and there is no way of saying India is not involved. There's 7 bits of impact we've already spoken about. There are others like possible impact on arms procurement from Israel, other trade with Iran. So what's Worldview's take? Given the numbers of Indians living and working in West Asia, a conflict between Israel and Iran that bookends the region is a conflict in India's immediate neighborhood. New Delhi cannot be immune to the escalation in tensions and on the ground. The immediate casualty could also be India's grand plans for connectivity, which depend on both Iran and Israel as hubs for various trade routes between India and the West. Okay, time for some Worldview reading recommendations. The first has come from my colleague Stanley Johnny, in fact, but I have read this in the past. It's a superb book, Black Wave, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the Rivalry That Unraveled the Middle East by Kim Ghattas. The next is Treacherous Alliance, The Secret Dealings of Israel, Iran, and the United States. This is by Trita Parsi, who's in Washington. There's The Cold War in the Islamic World by Dilip Hero. This is a very succinct book. It's a real must-read, also recommended by Stanley. Then there's Target Tehran, a little bit of an Israeli perspective on how Israel is using sabotage, cyber warfare, assassination, and secret diplomacy to stop a nuclear Iran and create a new Middle East. This is by Yona Jeremy Bob and Ilan Evitar. And then there's the making of the modern Middle East. I like this because this is written by a journalist, the BBC's top international correspondent, Jeremy Bowen, who talks about his travels through the region. So I hope you enjoy reading all of them and join us again here on Worldview. But for now, from the team, thanks for watching.